Now I want to bring up Neil Schwartz and Pegah to come and talk about a new concept that we've put together. We'll go and get the slides pulled up in just a minute, but we'll get Neil and Pegah to come up here, and then we'll get this presentation started.
So while Roy's getting our slideshow set up, first I want to thank Roy for inviting us here today. What we're going to talk about was actually inspired at this conference last year. My company, SBRnet, we are in the data business. And our primary function is that we do an annual study every year of sports fandom. So we really cover the sports fandom side of things. And I was here last year and really was opened my eyes to one, the power of sports philanthropy, but also, what's going on within the category. And I'm joined today by Pegah. Pegah is a PhD candidate from Temple University Sports Management Program. We're going to introduce a concept today later called GIVE-DEX, which is a measurement system to be able to measure sports philanthropy across leagues, across teams, across fans. So, last year, as I said, I was inspired, by the event. I was sitting and talking to some people and, just having a general conversation. And I said, they said, oh, we're doing really well with our philanthropic efforts. And I was like, how do you know? He says, well, we collected more money this year than I did last year. I said, well, that's a good thing. I said, but did you get more fans actually to donate this year than you did last year? Well, I don't know. Did you get the average amount per fan to go one way or the other? She didn't know. So my point was, you can't monitor what you can't measure. So what we needed to do was to create a measurement system that combines both tonnage, volume, dollars, and also likelihood. How likely is a fan to be donating to a sports-based charity? And we did that with, I'm waiting, I need the slides, so hopefully you'll, okay. Today my Apple won't work. You guys don't function well with Apple? It's the very first, by the way, it's the very first one up on there. But again, this was, just so you know, also, there is a report that we've created. I've got a couple of extra copies. This is actually Roy's. But I gave one away already, but if you'd like to grab one, grab me and I'll give you one of the reports, or you'll be able to download it for free. Everyone here is eligible to get one for free on our website. It's www.give-dex.com. Or if you forget the hyphen, it works both ways. But GIVE-DEX. And I have to say, Roy, again, was the inspiration for the name. I've gotten to know Roy pretty well over the last couple of years, and it's been great. So again, I want to thank Roy. We're here to talk about something called the giving game, sports philanthropy. And again, I'm Neil Schwartz, president of SBRnet, stands for Sports Business Research Network. One of my clients is sitting right here, Meredith Geisler from George Washington University. She can attest to the value and the strength and what we do. A lot of science, a lot of art, but also a lot of really valuable strategic data. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, the giving game of sports fan philanthropy. Roy, you want to go next? No, you can skip that part. Again, our team, it was myself, Roy, and Pegah that put this all together. Again, Roy was the inspiration for all of this. Actually, we got inspired by this, truth be told, on the golf course. Roy came down to Florida after one of his events. He brought his clubs. We spent 4 hours on the golf course, and this whole idea was born. Although there was some, let's say, in the first event. Again. So let me tell you, first of all, about the first piece, where this data is going to come from. So it all comes from the SBRnet annual study of sports fandom. We've actually been doing this study since 2012. I've only owned the company for the last 6 years. I bought it right before the pandemic. But the data that we're going to talk about is representative of sports fans and people 13 years and older here in the United States. The current version of the study features responses from over 7,000 sports fans. Next year, likely that number will increase as Roy has come to me and said, look, we want to measure more sports. We want to measure some more things. So we're probably going to be upping that number. But 7,000 is a fairly large sample size and really gives us a lot. The study covers 25 professional college and minor league sports. So we do cover kind of the gamut of sports. Now, there are a couple that are missing. One of the things we're going to do is by a larger sample size, I will now be able to get more data for things like the WUSL and the NWSA. Did I get that right? Thank you. Each respondent is asked to interact with over 70 categories of demographic, consumer intelligence data, live attendance, traditional media streaming, along with social media consumption and engagement. Respondents are also asked a number of key consumer-oriented questions. They focus on things like sports gambling, sports tourism, licensed merch sales. We know who's buying licensed merch and how much they're buying. Fantasy sports, sustainability, philanthropy, and really a lot more. The data, as you're going to see, is available all the way down to the team level. So any of you here that are teams, are curious about how you're doing in relationship to the league or relationship to other teams in your area or other teams in the league or other teams in your city, we can literally give you that kind of information. Also, our data is currently used by over 260 colleges and universities, which Meredith is one. Thank you very much. Brands, teams, and, of course, leagues worldwide. Next slide. So I'm going to hand this over to Pegah to talk a little bit about how we started with this and the questions that we added to our survey. So, Pegah?
First of all, hello, everybody. Thank you for coming and listening to our presentation. To do research about fan donation, we add 2 questions to our survey. The first one was we asked participate if they donate at all to any sport foundation. And if they said yes, in the second question, we asked them how much money they donate regarding these categories, less than $50, between $50 till $99, so on so far.
So what we did, we're going to go to the next one. So again, once we had the survey in place, we do our survey, by the way, every year, Q1 of the year, looking at the trailing 12-month period. So we get trailing 12-month habits. We define a sports fan this way. We define a fan as anyone that has attended at least one game live or watched at least one game on traditional TV, cable satellite, or streaming. So it is a broad definition of sports fan, but we do get a lot of volume oriented, so we can look at people that attended, 5 games a year. We can look at people who've watched 50 games a year. We can watch a lot of things. But the whole idea was to take a closer look at sports fan giving philanthropy first on a league-by-league basis. One of the things that I found in my career as I've been in research over 25 years. I like to build a story. And a story starts somewhere, gets into the middle, and then it gets to its final conclusion. That's the way we looked at this challenge. So we started first at the league level. Roy? Okay. So we wanted to look, first of all, at the league level. And by looking at the league level, what we were able to do is determine, first of all, whose fans donate more. Now, while the NFL clearly has the most sports fans with over 172 million, according to our study, they are not necessarily the highest percentage of fans who give. But granted, that percentage of fans, NFL fans, is a huge number. But as you can see, minor league hockey fans, very engaged in sports philanthropy. There's a lot of minor league hockey teams out there that, are looking for opportunities and looking for ways to help raise money. It's a great opportunity. Why? Because those fans are likely to be more receptive to your messaging. And that is really important because you want to look at likelihood, not just tonnage. Do not get caught up in just looking at dollar volume or tonnage. I use that word a lot. But look at likelihood. And you'll find out that it really is a good way. But again, we look at it at the league level. As you can see, about half the teams are over the average. Half the leagues are over the average. The other half are a little bit below the average. Again, though, just because somebody's below the average doesn't mean they're not doing well, especially with the NFL. But it just means that they've got some opportunity there. There's opportunity, right?
As a result of the first part, which was we focus on a league fans, we divided fans to the three category: fans who attended in the game in person, fans who streaming the game, and fans who watch the game with a traditional system like the TV or satellite. And we understand that fans who attend in the game in person donate more than the other two groups. And fans who streaming the games also donate more than fans who watching the game by the traditional things. So all in all, it seems that fans who attend in the game in a person are more engaged fan than others two groups.
One of the conclusions that we drew was that fans who participate in sports philanthropic efforts are more engaged fans. They buy more merch, they attend more games, they watch more games, they are more receptive to sponsor messaging. All of these things go into, of the factor of, why teams, why leagues, why do these charitable efforts? Because why? They are looking for more engaged fans. And this is one way to accomplish that objective. Roy?
Yeah. In part two, we focus on the teams for each 8 leagues, and NHL, NBA, NFL. But we for this presentation, we just focus on the NBA. And Roy, please go to the next slide. Yeah.
So we started out, look, we've looked at all these different leagues and all that. And, what I'm hoping is you'll stop me. I'm here the next 2 days. I'm happy to share data. You're going to be able to get a free copy of the report by going to the GIVE-DEX website. We're not, we want to share this data. We want to get it out there. And then look, if you decide, hey, you want to use it in some way for your strategic planning, or you want to use it in some way, we've got a way to deliver the data to you also. But as an example, we're looking at the NBA team fan base donating to sports-related charities. What was interesting was the Dallas Mavericks were the #1 team in terms of the percentage of their fans that donated to sports charities. Why? Well, we saw a number of reasons why. Education levels, income levels, there's a number of reasons. We saw teams like the Thunder, the Heat, the Pelicans, and the Cavaliers also operating above the average. But yet teams like the Pacers, Trailblazers, Jazz, Pistons, below the average. Again, this doesn't mean they're not doing a good job. It just means there's opportunities that they may not be taking advantage of. Maybe they selected the wrong Meredith.
Did you do the survey prior to the Luka trade?
Oh, no, Meredith, you're killing me here.
No, but seriously, because the fan base was so despondent after that happened. I'm just curious how it's going to be from this year to next year.
When was the trade done? I don't even remember.
The trade was done in the spring.
Our data is collected in January. So yeah.
Because I bet it'll be very different.
But again, the purpose of data and the purpose of this exercise is to benchmark and then measure. Next year, then we do it again. You measure, you benchmark, you measure, you benchmark. It's an ongoing cycle. And again, I use this term, and I'll use it till the day I sell my business or the day I die. Is that you cannot monitor what you cannot measure. So we give you a way to measure. Roy, next slide, please.
Yeah, in part 3, next one.
It's the target fans. There we go.
In part 3, we focus on fans' demography. In part 1, we focus on the league. Part 2, teams of leagues, how fans actually, how's the culture of fans regarding the philanthropy. But in part 3, we focus on a fans' demography. We want to know that what is the difference between the generation, gender, ethnicity, education, and income level. And for this presentation, we are focusing on the gender differences.
Next slide.
Next slide. And the result was really surprising, and we see that we know that mostly women have more empathy, and generosity.
That's a general rule.
But it seems that male fans are more generous and donate more than the female fans in all the sports, even in a female-donated sports like WNBA or other women's sports. Maybe in some sports, like as I mentioned, WNBA or other sports, it's the women dominated. The difference between the female and male fans, it's a little bit lesser, but in some sports like MMA or NASCAR, the difference between male and female fans regarding the donation, it's a lot.
This gender gap is actually kind of interesting, and also I talk about opportunities a lot, but this is a wonderful opportunity as a win-win for teams, charities, foundations, because again, women represent a great opportunity here. What's also interesting, and I met Nick Lowry last night at the dinner, and Nick, of course, played for the Kansas City Chiefs, and one of the things that we're talking about is that, for years and years, the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL have been considered America's team. And all that. But this year, when we measured our data, guess what? The Kansas City Chiefs overtook the Dallas Cowboys in terms of total fans. Why? Because they grew two things. One, their female fan base, no kidding. And they also grew their Gen Z fan base, no kidding. So guess what? They went to a group where they were underperforming. Obviously, the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce connection mattered, but they leveraged it and leveraged it well. Kansas City Chiefs are now America's team. Roy? This brings us to the GIVE-DEX. And the GIVE-DEX is really the culmination of everything that we have done within the survey and everything we're going to do. This is not the end of the line in terms of the development of the methodology, the development of the product. Roy and I are both committed. Go ahead, Roy.
Yeah, I think one of the great things, as Neil and I were putting together the concept for this, is everything we want to do this whole week and throughout the year is about building a culture of philanthropy around sports. And that starts at all levels: youth sporting events, tournaments, professional sports, college sports, high school sports. And there's been some interesting research recently that shows about 2/3 of the attendees and 2/3 of the dollars in rough terms that are spent on sports are from participation sports, right? So we're now looking really only at spectator sports, and these are the results from the spectator side, but this is something that's going to expand further. And when you have a chance to go through the report in more detail, we want your feedback. We want your ideas, because we identified certain holes that we saw when we got the data back. We saw that there wasn't enough, for example, from some of the Canadian sports teams. We saw that we need to get more data on the women's sports events and teams. And so we want to make sure that we continue to build out how this is being tracked and how this is being measured, and use it in that sense of positive peer pressure. If people understand, right, it'd be great to see a competition and those sort of heat thermometers of the giving levels of teams, something that they track throughout the year, right, and be able to rank that and identify what that means, and take teams that are really engaged with their community and have them encouraging their fan base to support those types of causes.
The goal was to develop a new metric, a new KPI, key performance indicators. You hear that expression every day. We want to measure, benchmark, and then measure again. It's my life. We want to quantify fan giving across leagues and teams. But you know what we also want to do? We're hoping that some of you take a look at this and say, you know what? I maybe want to use this GIVE-DEX thing to try to develop some strategic plans and some other ideas. And we're hoping to be able to turn some of these things into case studies. Because what you know, everybody else could know, and you could take advantage. And that's, and that's like the whole function of what, this event for Roy, is that we have a chance to talk and interact and learn. And this hopefully will be another source of that. Pegah? Roy, next slide.
To quantify the GIVE-DEX, we consider two variables. The first one was how many fans donate and how much they donate. Then we normalized these two variables because we wanted to bring them to the one scale regarding to compare them fairly. And then we multiplied these two variables together to come up with the GIVE-DEX.
I don't want to get too sciencey on everybody, but normalization allows you to be able to look at disparate data in a similar scale. Yeah, I saw your hand go up.
I'm just curious how you collect the data in a way that doesn't bias your results.
Well, the data is done via an internet-based collection from a nationally representative panel. So we collect, we start off with persons 13 years and older. We then use a quota-based sampling methodology. based on age, income, ethnicity, geographic region, marital status, presence.
Are these anonymous?
Yes, all anonymous.
But I mean, you just reach out to anonymous?
We use a nationally, we use a big panel company. Completely anonymous. We don't know who they are. The closest piece of information that I get is geography. I do have zip codes, but again, with 7,000. Now we have worked on a modeling system to be able to take that zip code down to a much more take that fan down to a much more granular level. So the answer is we can do some interesting things with it. But again, the goal was to kind of bring these disparate data points together, normalize it, and then present a unified GIVE-DEX score. Next slide, please.
We reported the GIVE-DEX for baseball league. We actually calculated GIVE-DEX for 8 leagues, but here just we presented for the baseball league. And as you can see, more than half of teams are, the GIVE-DEX of more than half of teams are less than the average, and just a few teams are below the average. And as Roy several times mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity for these teams to work and develop their culture of philanthropy regarding their fan. And the good news for teams who are above the average is that they can take advantage of this result, these fans, because when they are doing the sponsorship deals, they can say, hey, we have really engaged fans, so they can take advantage of this actually.
The New York Yankees far and away have the largest fan base in baseball. And you know what? It's still reflected here. The tonnage matters, but it's not the only thing that matters. The tonnage matters. It's not the only thing that matters. Roy?
Yeah, in summary, for 4 parts, we understand that in-person attendance donate more than the other fans who streaming or watching the games. In all leagues, there were a small number of teams who their fans donate, but many teams needs to work on the culture of philanthropy of their fans. And based on our result, male fans, Gen Z and Caucasian fans donate more than the other generation or gender and ethnicity. And also there is a space and opportunity to work on a culture of Hispanic people. Hispanic people are a great job in some sport like MMA or international sports, but there is some space to work on this ethnicity regarding the philanthropy.
Just remember, it's a composite score. So it counts for, I know I said this about 20 times already. It counts for tonnage as well as likelihood. But the GIVE-DEX really at its heart provides a strategic tool for benchmarking, identifying engagement gaps, measurement, and then also looking and guiding you for future philanthropic planning across the sports industry, specifically a sports fandom side of things. As Roy mentioned, by the way, we do not measure, we do not capture a lot of fans of Canadian-based teams just because of the sampling situation. I mean, if a team doesn't have enough of a sample, I can't report the data. It's a science thing. But one of the things we're going to hopefully do next year is that by increasing the size of the sample, we'll be able to add, as Roy said, more female, more of the women's sports, because right now women's sports are the hottest thing going. There's no question about it. And there's a lot of great WNBA, other women's sports, soccer, hockey even, professional women's hockey, just growing by incredible numbers. And we've got the data to back it up. Roy? Oh, sorry. Well, I think what we're hoping to happen, I mean, I hear your question and I understand that. It's a hard one to answer, by the way. Well, it's that where is the money going?
Okay, let's pass the microphone. Jake's got a microphone, so it'll help if we...
I won't repeat the full question because I think you
did.
captured the essence. Where's the money going, and will the data give insight into that? Because that might be a key variable as to why donation rates are high.
Right now, the short answer is no. The data does not do that. That's something we definitely could look at. And I think also if some of you come to me and say, look, we would like to get involved with the GIVE-DEX, we'd like to use the GIVE-DEX score, we would like to specifically know, where the money's going. Are people doing it towards charitable foundations? Are they doing it towards, I'm a Florida Panthers fan. Obviously, they just won the Stanley Cup. Sasha Barkov, the captain, has a big thing going with Joe DiMaggio Hospital in Hallandale. And, and again, there was a lot of opportunity created, and we don't know where the money's going right now. But yes, that is something we'd like to take a look at.
Question over here from Darren Sudman.
Thanks. So thank you for pulling this together and for giving us this view of the world. I love it. Can you tell us the story, though? When we looked at that slide early on about the Dallas Mavericks and them exceeding everyone else, is the story that people who live in Dallas are just more generous than the rest of us, or the Mavericks do a better job of creating a culture of giving?
It's actually that, for the two things that you mentioned are basically part of it. But the third thing is, if you look at the demographic characteristics of the Dallas Mavericks fans, higher average income, high education level, there's a number of other things. Also, one of the things that we cover in the study is cross fandom. Dallas Mavericks have allegiances to a lot of other teams, not just the Dallas Mavericks. And a lot of these teams, apparently, I don't know this for a fact, but it looks like a lot of them might be working together on some of these things because the cross fandom numbers were big. So yes, it's a factor of all those things: location, the fans, the team, but also the demographics. And the demographics really tell a good story. Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for this work. It's incredible.
Thank you.
I'm Joan Stiltman. I'm the CEO for Bounce Children's Foundation. We support chronically ill kids and their families. And I'm curious, as we talk about where is the money going, if you have any plans to dig into fan giving beyond the sports arena. Are these fans more philanthropic overall? And what are the causes that capture their hearts and their wallets?
That's an amazing question. The one thing I have to get back to is really the core foundation of my business, which is sports fans. I think, after we get done, this is version 1. And after I think we get done with this, Roy and I are going to sit with Pegah. Pegah and I are going to sit down and figure out exactly what we need to do for version 2. We'll be taking into account a lot of the questions that have come up today to ensure that I'm not sure how deep we're going to be able to get into that because, again, right now, the average person who takes my survey spends 22 minutes on survey. That's a long, anybody who knows anything about research, 22 minutes is a long time to ask for somebody to stay on survey. The reason why people do stay on survey really comes down to 3 words, and it's actually the thing that keeps me in business. Sports are fun. People love talking about sports. They love talking about their fandom. They love talking about the teams they enjoy. They love talking about this stuff. I love talking about this stuff. Yeah.
Hi, Neil. Thanks.
You're welcome.
This may come off as a critical comment, but it's not meant this way. One of the challenges with the panel surveys, right, is its intent and its opinions, not necessarily factual in terms of what the behavior is. When you look, there's another couple of studies that have looked at the professional sport team foundations, looked into their 990 tax filings. The overwhelming majority of them spend far less, virtually zero on marketing and fundraising, unlike most other nonprofits. And that's why, the reason is the majority of their revenue, besides just coming from their ownership, comes from the at-event 50-50 draws.
Sure.
And so you might say that interpreting results, the reason the number 1 driver is live attendance is because it comes from the 50-50 draws. And I might argue that that's not necessarily philanthropic donating culture as much as I'm at a game, I'm going to try to win a 50-50.
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I went to Stanley Cup final. I went to Game 4. Unfortunately, the Panthers lost. But again, they had $303,000 up on the scoreboard, and that's a lot of money. I mean, even I ended up buying. I mean, I normally don't participate in that, but I did. But again, yeah. I mean, in some ways, I guess the best way I can answer the question is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in some ways that that fans that go to games get exposed to more of these activities. I walked around the concourse. I walked around the INEC. They started a new foundation to promote hockey for youth in South Florida. And again, so they're handing out, they're giving things, so I mean, people are getting exposed to things at the game, but it doesn't mean they can't get exposed to things in the, within the confines of streaming, which again is driving engagement. So, that's a good question, and I think it was a fair point. So I'm not wouldn't belittle it. Any other questions? You can download the survey, download the full report, on our website, www.give-dex.com. Again, full version of the report. I do have 1 or 2 copies here. I'm going to give Roy this one. Again, I want to thank you today. I want to thank you for your participation. I want to thank Pegah, who did an unbelievable job on the data part of this.
Of course.
What I do is part science and part art. And you've got to have the science in order to have the art first. Remember, it's science first, art second. And Roy provided me the inspiration. So again, I want to thank everybody for their participation. I want to thank you for your cooperation, listening. And if you want to talk to me, I'm here the next 2 days. So please grab me, engage me, and let's talk. Roy, thank you.